Hello Buller students, today we are going to create an 8-bar musical theme starting from a small rhythmic cell. To come up with a rhythmic cell, get out your instrument, pick one note and improvise some rhythms. I am stuck. I am stuck. I am stuck. Okay, so here's my short rhythmic cell written down. You can see it's a crotchet and 2 quavers, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, so from your small rhythmic cell, you want to try and create a 2-bar phrase. So I've already done this. See how I've taken the rhythmic cell and copied it, but also adapted it by changing the rhythm slightly. I have put the quavers together here and replaced them with a crotchet to complete bar 1. And then I have copied the first bar and replaced the 2 crotchets at the end with a minim. This gives the phrase a nice sense of repetition and contrast, which is key to all successful compositions. Okay, so our next job is to choose a key. This is really important as it's going to tell us which notes and chords will sound nice together and will work together. I would suggest picking the key of whichever note you used for your rhythmic cell. Mine was D, so I'm going to use D major, and I'm going to make D the tonic, so the first note of the key. And then I'm going to work it out either using the circle of fifths to tell me which sharps or flats to use, or I can just count up tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone from D and get my key like this with my 7 different notes. Okay, armed with our 7 different notes, we're going to now transform our 2-bar rhythmic phrase into a 2-bar melody with pitch. There are a couple of things that you're going to want to focus on when writing a melody. The first is that you want it to have a nice mixture of conjunct and disjunct movement. So a mixture of moving by step and moving by leap. If it's too conjunct, it will sound like one big scale, which is really boring. And if it's too disjunct, it will be leaping around randomly all over the place and it won't be easy for your listener to remember. The second thing is that you want to try and focus on the tonic and the dominant. So the first note of the key and the 5th note of the key to help establish the key that we're in for the listener. Now I'm going to extend my 2-bar phrase by doubling it to 4 bars. I'm going to keep the rhythm the same to provide some continuity, but change some of the pitches. However, because our aim is to make an 8-bar phrase, halfway through at this 4-bar stage, I want it to sound unfinished. So I'm going to end on a note from the dominant chord, that is chord 5 in the key. Now, all I've done to extend my 4-bar melody to an 8-bar melody is the same trick as before. I've copied it and then just changed the last bar, this time ensuring that the last note is from the tonic chord so that it sounds finished. Now we have our melody, we need some chords to accompany it. To make sure they fit, we require chords from the key. The way you build chords in a key is easy. You write out your scale, and then do what I like to call building the snowman. You take every other note from the scale and place it on top, like this, and there you have your 7 chords. Now we have our 8-bar melody, and 7 chords in the key of D major, we need to decide which chords go where. You need to think about 2 things when adding chords. Firstly, harmonic rhythm. This is how often the chords will be played. And secondly, which chords from the key will fit and sound nice with the melody. This part will take a lot of experimenting and trial and error. Ultimately, you must choose what sounds right. I have chosen to write a chord every 2 beats, so 2 chords in each bar. we need to find 2 chords to go into our first bar. We have an F sharp, E, D, A, and another A in the melody. Now, there is no chord that fits all of these notes. However, if we look at our chart at the bottom, D fits most of the notes. So I'll put a D major chord in here twice. Now, the reason that the E is okay to go with this chord is because it's a passing note. It is passing from F sharp, which is in the chord of D, to D, which is also in the chord. Now, you could be wondering, at the end, there are 2 A's, so I could have chosen another chord here, possibly chord 5, an A chord, but here at the beginning I've chosen to keep it as D twice. I'm now going to complete the other 7 chords. So, in this next bar, we have a B, a D and an E, and another D. So I'm going to choose chord 4 to go with it, a G chord because of the B and the D. And then I'm going to go with chord 1 again for the D. Then the next one, I'm going to put chord 4 again because we've got a G. And then I'm going to go with chord 1 again because we've got a D and an F sharp. And then the last bar, I'm going to go with chord 5, I think, because I want it to sound unfinished, so have an imperfect cadence there. Then for the next part, I'm going to look and see again, well, I can just copy those bars over because the melody is exactly the same, apart from the last bar. Now, this is the 8th bar, so I want it to sound finished, so I'm going to change the last 2 chords to make it a perfect cadence so that it ends on chord 1. So we've got an E, that will fit with chord 5, so I'll keep that the same. But the last note is a D, which doesn't fit with an A chord, so I'm going to change the last chord to chord 1, a D major chord, so we have a perfect cadence, so this 8-bar section sounds finished. Here's what it sounds like.